Buenas tardes. Hoy tenemos la sesión un poco más reducida. El ser en inglés, quizás eso desanima a algunos estudiantes. Es una lástima porque no siempre se cuenta con la presencia de una catedrática importante de una universidad extranjera. Siempre es bueno tener conferenciantes que vienen de otros lugares, que tienen otras experiencias, a pesar de que su entorno común sean los negocios, sea la empresa, sea pues el marketing, porque ella es una catedrática de marketing. Se trata de la doctora Lisa Anastasova. La doctora Lisa Anastasova, Lina Anastasova, viene de la Universidad Libre de Burgas y trabaja en marketing desde hace muchos años. Es una gran experta en marketing. El tema del cual nos va a hablar hoy es Relationship Marketing and Services, Retention Strategies, Customer. Bien, puedo decirles que es muy entendible. Mi inglés no es precisamente maravilloso, pero yo con ella me he podido comunicar perfectamente todo el tiempo. Ella habla muchos idiomas, habla ruso, habla alemán, habla, francés, habla de todo, inglés naturalmente y búlgaro. Por lo tanto, ya sin más dilación, le cedo la palabra. Me hubiera gustado tener el auditorio mucho más lleno como habitualmente tenemos, porque bien, es una opción importante que es una lástima que se pierda parte de nuestro alumnado. Sin más dilación, le dejamos la palabra a ella y será seguramente una presentación, pues quizás algo más breve de lo que estamos acostumbrados, pero si después hay preguntas, estará encantada en contestarlas todas. Gracias, Lina, adelante.
Thank you very much. I prefer to... Similar like good afternoon, everybody. As you heard already, my name is Lina Anastasova, and I'm professor in marketing studies at Burgas Free University. And at the same time, I'm also a vice dean of the faculty. So if somebody of your students, of the students from Barcelona University come to my university over Erasmus, so they have to deal with me in the faculty. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. You can ask me when I speak, and I speak too quickly, for example, in some moments, or you don't understand, then you can ask me and I can repeat. But generally it is the same with our students. That's why I say don't worry. Our students also, they learn English, but not all of them are very good in English. In every group, maybe about 1/3 of the students is with good English and the others are so-so. So don't worry if you don't feel very comfortable in some moments, if you don't understand everything. Before I begin with the topic, I would like to say something about my country and about my city and university, because I'm sure you don't know so much about Bulgaria. Probably some of you don't know nothing about my country, because it is a small country. But I think due to our good football player, Christos Stoichkov, you at least have heard the name of my country, Bulgaria. So, something about Bulgaria. Bulgaria is a small country. In fact, like population, as size of population, it's almost like Catalonia, your province, which can be also a separate country. As I see, our country is 7.3 million. You are 7.5 million in Catalonia. So, the population of Catalonia is like the population of Bulgaria. Our territory, of course, is much bigger than Catalonia, is about 3 times bigger than Catalonia's territory. Bulgaria was in the medieval times, was a very big country. We were 3 times bigger as territory, but unfortunately, due to different historical reasons, due to many wars, we lost a lot of territories. For example, part of nowadays Greece, the northern Greece, was Bulgarian territory. Almost all Macedonia was Bulgarian territory. Western Serbia was Bulgarian territory. So we were really, till the 13th century, we were one very big country with very strong kingdom, very powerful kings. But unfortunately, in the 14th century, 1396, we fall down. We came under power of the Ottoman Empire, and about 500 years, Bulgaria was under Turkish, or nowadays we say Ottoman power. So Bulgaria was, so to say, pushed back. Because when the Ottoman Turks came to my country, we were in late feudalism. We were very well-developed feudalism country. And probably if we didn't fall under the power of Ottoman Empire, we should begin the capitalism probably in the 18th century, late 17th or 18th century, like in England, like in France, like in Spain, like in big other Western European countries. But the Ottoman Empire was in early feudalism when they put us under power, so we were forwarded back. And 500 years, nothing happens, nothing good happens, in fact, on the Bulgarian territory. So we were liberated at the end of the 19th century. Very soon, 130 years ago, we received the liberalization from Turkish Empire with the help of the Russian Empire, the Russian king and the Russian army. They helped us as Christians to get the freedom from the Ottoman Empire. That's why capitalism began very, very late in Bulgaria, very late. And up to now, we are, then it was socialist time, long years, and now we are one of the countries in the European Union, unfortunately, with the lowest wages, with a relatively low living standard, lower than in Spain, than in Italy, than the Mediterranean countries, and similar, very similar, on the same level with Romania. Our GDP is 5 times less than Catalonia's GDP. This is the gross domestic product, GDP, Our is about, in 2012, the estimations are that it is about 36 billion euro, and Catalonia's GDP, as I know, is 197 billion euro, so 5 times and more than the Bulgarian GDP. And per capita, Bulgarian GDP is about 5,200 euro, and yours is about nearly 26,000 euro. So Bulgaria is since 20 years we were with long transition period. So now we are a market economy. During the last 10 years, a lot of things happened. The market is totally liberated, and with the good things happened also a lot of bad things. What I mean. Before the changes, 20 years ago, Bulgaria was with very strong developed industry, with many industry sectors. But due to the bad privatization in Bulgaria, not proper, really bad privatization with a lot of corruption policies and other bad things, it is a long story. I cannot explain everything, but generally, some of the good developed industries and enterprises in Bulgaria almost collapsed. And now in this moment, Bulgarian industry is, so to say, not very good, not very bad. We have some good production industries. We still produce a lot of metals, zinc, copper. We have a big production of hydraulic machines. We produce also some machine tools. We are the biggest producer and exporter of electricity in southeastern Europe. All the Balkan Peninsula countries, we are the biggest producer of electricity because we have a nuclear station, a nuclear energy station. So generally we have some good productions, but generally some of the industry sectors collapsed. We had, for example, a huge food industry, which is now very small size. We produced a lot of canned food for the whole Eastern Europe, for Russia, Czech, Poland, Hungary. We, 20 years ago, they ate mainly our canned food, tomatoes, cucumbers, all vegetables, all fruits. Now the canned industry in Bulgaria, the food canned industry in Bulgaria is very small part of the industry. Our agriculture was also very good developed. We made a big export of fresh food and vegetables. Unfortunately, now is not the case. Sometimes we eat tomatoes from Greece and we exported so much tomatoes and other vegetables. Now we eat tomatoes sometimes from Turkey, sometimes from Greece. But our tomatoes are very good, really. The quality of the Bulgarian tomatoes, all tourists who come to Bulgaria, they say, very tasty. Our vegetables and fruits are really tasty. And Carlos was in Bulgaria, Professor Carlos Grau. He knows very well our vegetables and fruits, how delicious they are. They are really with natural taste. So this is about Bulgaria. Now, not very good, unfortunately, but we are surviving. And we have very similar problems, in fact, with Spain, with Italy. Okay, Greece, they are in the worstest situation, but we have similar problems with them. The productivity is not high. You know, the labor productivity is so important factor for the industry in Bulgaria is low. Until now, the productivity is low. So, as you see, the GDP is also very small compared to the bigger countries in Europe. This is about my country, about the industry, but we have very diverse natural resources. We have very diverse nature, landscapes. In this small territory, the whole eastern border is Black Sea coast. So we have very good resorts, Black Sea resorts. 20 years ago, we had huge numbers of Spanish tourists, but now, the last 15, 20 years, very small number of Spanish tourists. I remember when I was a student, I was working 2 summers in the Sunny Beach resort. I was a guide, I was a hotel receptionist, and a lot of other professions. And I remember the Spanish tourists. I knew personally the representative of the Spanish tour operator who brought the Spanish tourists in Sunny Beach. His name was Jesus Cruz or something like Jesus Cruz or something like that. And but now we don't have Spanish tourists, very small number. The main tourists are from UK, Scandinavian countries, Germany, a lot of German tourists, and also from Russia and all the Balkan countries and the Eastern Europe, a lot of Czech, Hungarian, Polish, Macedonian tourists. Up to now, the main tourism which is developed in Bulgaria is like in Spain, the sea recreational tourism on the eastern border, as I said already. But we have also very good developed winter tourism, ski resorts, because Bulgaria has a couple of good mountains. I said for this small territory, we really have very high mountains for that small country. And we have 2 mountains where we have really good skiing resorts. One of them, Bansko, became also part of the world champion skiing sports. So in the winter, our resorts are full of tourists. Now, the last couple of years, we try to develop also other kinds of tourism. like cultural tourism, which is very strong developed in Barcelona and Catalonia. We try also to develop ecotourism, rural tourism, hobby, different kind of hobby tourism, velo and other types. So we have to diversify really in the tourism product policy, because long years it was mainly recreational Black Sea tourism and skiing tourism. This about the country. My city is the fourth biggest city in Bulgaria. The name is Burgas, and our university, Burgas Free University, is one of the youngest universities in Bulgaria. There are three good private universities in Bulgaria. Okay, not really private. We are non-state university. We are not owned by the state. It's a very interesting form of, ownership. We are not really private, but not state university. We are not state university. We rely on the student fees, and so is our subsistence. We don't receive any money from the state. The university was established 22 years ago in 1991. In fact, I'm one of the first group of teachers in the Faculty for Business Studies. We began in 1991. The faculty has four main bachelor programs, similar to yours. These are finance, BBA in finance, BBA in marketing, BBA in accounting, and bachelor in business administration in management. So 4 main bachelor degrees and 8 master's programs, which are in these main areas. In the marketing, we have, except the general marketing master's degree, since 1 year we offered marketing and management in tourism sector, and from this year we are launching a new master's degree, marketing, which is in my chair, where I'm in duty for this master's program. And then we have also finance master's degree, accounting master's degree, bank management master's degree, so altogether about 8 programs. Bachelor students from your university, let me say that, can come over Erasmus to our university. We have very modern facilities, a totally modern new building since 2004 is the building, with a lot of facilities, with student activities. We have salsa club, we have theater, student theater, and other cafes and disco where the students get together. So different social activities which are organized by the students and for the students. But the size of the university is much smaller than your university. Your university is very big. We are small compared to Barcelona University. We have about 7,000 students, and the staff is about 200 teachers, like only the Faculty for Business Studies in your university. So that's about my university and the faculty. So I think I have to begin with the I will speak about relationship services.
After 1 year.
Okay. At the beginning, I put something about the traditional orthodox, so to say, orthodox marketing. You all know that marketing is for analyzing, organizing, planning, controlling all the firm's activities in order to satisfy the needs of the consumers. So this is, so to say, the general. This is, so to say, the general aim or goals of marketing. And one of the famous marketing authors, Theodor Levitt, says very good for that. He says, the main aim, the goal of the sales department is to sell the ready products, but the goal of the marketing department is to first to identify the consumer needs and then to prepare those. Yeah, okay. Yes, because I cannot stand over there. And then to prepare the appropriate. Is it on? And then to prepare the needed frameworks for satisfying these needs. You know the main marketing frame for marketing mix of McCarthy. Everybody who has learned marketing knows the 4 P's: the product, the price, the place, and the promotion. Then I just make very quick review of different marketing concepts for the marketing mix. Then came the other concept of Charles Kaufman, where there is one 5th P, which is the component people there. People is very important, especially for the services, because I will give mainly examples at the end from the services sector. People is really, this 5th P is really very important, because for the production of the material goods, we are not interested in the behavior of the worker. He works in his room there in the hall where the workers are doing their tasks. But we are interested in the qualification, because we are interested that the product is qualitative, is with good quality, but we are not interested in his behavior, in his outlook, how he's looking, how he's behaving, besides the qualifications. But in services sector, you know, everybody of us was a consumer of services, and we know that the behavior of the people, of the serving people, of the people who are in services, is very important. For example, one receptionist, she can be with very good education, very good educated, but if she is not smiling, maybe she knows very good operations on the reception, works very good with computer and all kinds of things with the reservation systems, but if she is not smiling, if she is not looking how to say, innocent or clean, with good outlook, it will be, and especially if she doesn't smile, it will be not nice for us. We will not perceive the quality of the service as very high quality. We will be somehow hurt or angry that she is not with a good mood and that she is not behaving good to us. So I just wanted to stress on the element people, the 5th P. Then came another marketing concept, for the marketing mix I mean, when, except this 4P, came, the 5th one is here absent, the people. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, after place, okay, I was in a hurry. And after place must be again people, the 5th element, and then come 2 other new elements, which are physical environment and processes. Why I stress here on physical environment? Again related to the services. Because, so every service is, so to say, conducted, executed in some physical environment. This is in the restaurant, so this is in hotels, so this is, for example, in the coiffure office where they make our hair. Everywhere, even in the retail sector, when we buy goods, we buy, for example, qualitative goods. I put some examples here just to remind myself to say something. We buy qualitative goods, but we prefer to buy them in a nice shop, with a nice interior, with a nice sound, with the nice colors, with good serving people. So everything, this physical environment is very important for our experience. Then we stay happy with the service, and then we come 2nd time, 3rd time, or more times, which is very, very important for the paradigm of relationship marketing, as you will see. And what I wanted to say here about IKEA. IKEA, you know this Swedish company for the, for equipment of rooms, furniture, and so on. IKEA has very qualitative products, but they insist a lot, they stress a lot on the physical environment in their shops. You know, the interior in their shops is different, is not traditional. sometimes even not very expected in some departments of the store, but they stress very much on the physical environment, on all these small things which make us feel good. Apple computers, they're also one of the best examples of providing experience for their customers. We all know that the quality of the Apple computers, of their products, is very high, but we also enjoy the experience in their shops. My daughter is living in UK, so every time when I go to UK, I go to the Apple shops because they are different, bigger and different than the shops in Bulgaria. Okay, Apple computers, they have shop also in Sofia. They have a couple of shops in Sofia, but they are smaller because the market is smaller and the shops are not so attractive and not so nice like in London and in Birmingham. And the experience in these shops is really very, very nice. So I usually try to find time to visit their shops and to see how they serve the people, all this play with the customers to satisfy to 200% the needs of the customer and really to delight the customer. Marriott Hotels. We spoke with colleagues about this hotel chain. This is my favorite hotel chain, not because their product as facilities, as rooms, as restaurants, as the, so to say, functional characteristics, they are similar, like Hilton, like Radisson, like Hyatt, like this, how to say, the functional features of the product, but they sell also experience. In every Marriott hotel, they sell their own atmosphere. They sell experience. The Marriott in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and in Putrajaya is different than the Marriott in Egypt, than the Marriott in Greece, in Athens, than the Marriotts in London. London Marriott in Mayfair, where I was one time because of a research of me 12 years ago in Marriott Mayfair. This is really a traditional English Marriott. It gives the atmosphere of the old England. Egypt Marriott is totally different with the atmosphere of the Egypt culture. So it's in Greece and everywhere. In every country, they really provide for the customer different experience related to the local culture. They promote, together with their hotel, they promote also the culture of the host population. Everywhere it is so. And processes, this is the seventh element. So that's why I wanted here to stress, because the customer experience is very important. And now one of the last concepts in marketing is the experience marketing. To market products through experience. And you know the social media now, how they help for everything. We share all these experiences, features, comments, everything we share in social media. So the fundamental concept of the marketing mix, these concepts which I spoke about, they still apply. But we need to remember really that these original frameworks, they were developed in unique environment. It was after the second year, when they came mainly from United States, and United States in the 50s, 60s, after the Second War, was a prosperous market. It was a growing market, a developing market, and it was a market for fast-moving goods. A lot of fast-moving goods and brands evolved on this market. So the market was totally different to that time when the concepts were discovered or developed. And now the market, from the 90s, somehow the end of the 20th century, somehow during the closing years of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, the markets really changed. What changed? Changes in the consumer behavior and the markets, and in the markets occur in the 90s. Just very quickly to say some changes. Consumers became more sophisticated and less responsive to the traditional marketing activities. For example, to advertising. Okay, you will say advertising is still actual. all the big companies, they make a lot of advertising. They have huge advertising activities. But generally, all the research shows that the advertising pressure, the consumers are not so much responsive like they were 20 years ago. Brand loyalty is weaker than it used to be in the 70s and the 80s. Now, 20 years ago, it was so. If the consumers are satisfied, they are loyal. If they are satisfied, they buy this brand, and they buy, and they buy. But now, brand satisfaction doesn't mean brand loyalty. You can be satisfied by a brand, but we try another brands. We like to try other brands to experience something new, so there is not more equation, which was 20 years ago. Another change. Claims became more pretentious. Here I wrote many articles were in the last 10 years under the line, is marketing dead? No, marketing is not dead, but marketing is changing. So clients became more pretentious. What does it mean? For example, characteristics of the product or of the service which they perceived 5 years ago as exceptional, as very fancy, as very nice, interesting, now they perceive it as a normal standard. In every sector is that so. For example, 20 years ago, when you bought a package holiday, you had to pay in addition your insurance, travel insurance. Since 15 years, this travel insurance is included in the package, and all traveler perceives it as a standard. If it is not included, we will be angry, because it is not more exceptional benefit. It's just a standard. We are more and more pretentious, and that puts a lot of stress on the companies. So the consumer focus is not more on the functional characteristics of the product, but we stress on additional benefits. We require from the companies additional benefits. We require positive experience, as I said before. We require feelings. So now, the last couple of years, a lot of articles are under the line emotional branding, everything related to emotions. So companies try to promote their products through emotions and experience. The marketing, other change. The marketing in the 21st century is compressed. What does it mean? The cycle between the product launch and the product death is very short now. Many years ago, it was the life cycle, the product life cycle was very long. So long launch, long maturity, everything, every phase of the product life cycle was long. Now, the life cycle is very compressed, is very short. This puts again stress on the companies to be more innovative, to be more competitive. I remember, you are very young, you cannot remember, but I remember, we, on my generation, we remember, for example, these internet browsers, Netscape Navigator and Internet Explorer. I remember 15 years ago, they competed with each other. About 12, 13 years ago, they competed with each other. But at the beginning, every new version of Netscape Navigator and of Internet Explorer, they came 6 months, every 6 months, a new version. After that, in a couple of years, every 2 months or every month, there was a new version of Internet Explorer and Netscape Navigator. So the life cycle gets very short and more shorter. The business environment and the competition became very unpredictable due to the dynamic technological changes. With the internet launch in our life and with the spread of internet everywhere, your generation cannot imagine now to live without internet. Yes, it is so. You cannot imagine, even me, I cannot remember, we cannot remember how it was without internet, but we lived without internet. So all these changes, they really changed dramatically the consumer behavior and also the life of the companies, and of course the marketing. So there was a need about 15 years ago, there was need people, authors, practitioners, they felt a need for new marketing paradigm. And this paradigm is called relationship marketing, marketing of relationships. So what is the main focus here? The main focus is not from there is a move from focus on a single transaction to the focus of long-term relationship with customers. The traditional marketing is stressing on the single transaction to get the customer now, right now, to make the transaction, to get the profit from this transaction. And the relationship marketing, we will see now more in detail, tries to make a relationship with the consumer and to make it long-term relationship. So in this matrix, you see here is functionality-based marketing, cross-functionality-based marketing. Down is emphasis on customer acquisition. There is emphasis on customer retention. So transactional marketing, the traditional marketing is here left. We move in the last 15 years, most, okay, maybe not all, but most of the companies in most of the sectors, they move to relationship marketing. What does it mean? Which are the fundamental principles of relationship marketing? Of this paradigm. So, you know, paradigm is a main theory in one area and a lot of other additional meanings, theories, comments, but paradigm is the main flow in let's say, marketing, in this case, in marketing area. Which are the fundamentals of relationship marketing? Maximizing the customer lifetime value. The abbreviation is CLTV or customer LTV. This is the fundamental goal or principle, you can say, of relationship marketing. Dear students, there are many definitions of customer lifetime value. There is still a big debate. Should it be only about the revenues or should it be only about net profit? But one of the definitions which is in use, this is this definition, that customer lifetime value, this is the future flow of all revenues, or if the company prefers, only the net profit, expected of every customer for defined time period. For a couple of years, 5, 7, 10, it is a fixed period which the company defines. The companies must, I put here that before going further, the companies must recognize that not all customers have the same value. They are not equal in the meaning of profitability. So that's why the companies have to measure the lifetime value of the customer so that they have to try to make better relations with them, to make incentives for the customers to buy more and more, so to increase the lifetime value. In essence, companies need to tailor and to customize their activities to every customer. This is one of the main characteristics of relationship marketing, customizing the activities to the needs of every single consumer. Approaches for defining a lifetime value. There are different approaches. I will show you here two of the approaches. There is debate now. There are developed now new approaches, but two main approaches for calculation of the lifetime value. In fact, why is lifetime value important? Because we can quantify the marketing goals or aims of the company. For instance, if we calculate the lifetime value, we can set a goal, increase with 10% for the period, or increase the lifetime value with 5%, or increase with 15%. That's why it is important to calculate somehow, to define a way, to choose one of the ways to define the lifetime value and to increase it. What means increasing the lifetime value. This means to set 3 aims. First, to increase the period when the clients buy from the company. So this means generated to increase the customer life cycle. Like the products have life cycle, now in this paradigm in the relationship marketing, the customer has also his life cycle. So the first aim is to increase the life cycle or the life of the customer with us, with the company, to buy more years from us, not only 1 or 2 years. To increase the amount spent for every purchase, so to increase the average amount, and to decrease the time between 2 purchases, which means to make incentives for the customers to buy oftener, more often, not rare, more and more often. One example, one very simple example, what does it mean to increase the lifetime value with 10%? Let's say these 3 indicators are average amount spent by a single purchase. Here we have basic data, then we have data after 10% increase of the indicators, or decrease, I'll explain. The first indicator is average amount spent by a single purchase. Let's say it is 50 euro. After 10% increase of the indicator will be average amount per purchase 55 euro. Second indicator, average time period between the purchases. Let's say it is every 3 months, one time. One time is buying the customer. If we increase here, if we improve the indicator, this means we have to make shorter the period. You understand? That's why it is 9 days less. We try to make this customer to buy every 81 days, not every 90, every 81 days. And average duration of the customer relationship, let's say, from our observations on the market, from our competitors, we know, for example, that we can set a goal. 10 years is the life cycle of the consumer. We increase it by 10%. We try to get him for 11 years. And so here are the calculations. We divide the new lifetime value. We make minus the basic data. Then we divide on the basic customer lifetime value. And for put it in percentage, we multiply on 100 and we receive 11.2% increase of the lifetime value. So we see after 10% increase of the 3 indicators, we receive 11.2% increase of the customer value. So that's why it's important to calculate the lifetime value, because we can quantify the goals. We can set goals by numbers. Not only say we want that the customers buy more, but we quantify. Another approach for calculating the lifetime value, which is more difficult, because these data, some of them are not easy to provide. What does it mean? First, plus is in this plus means in the equation after that, they are with plus, and some things which are expenses are with minus. First, the main thing here is the volume of all customer expenses for buying company products during customer lifetime cycle. So during these 10 years, all the expenses all the income which company expect from these customers, we plan to receive from them. Company revenue from attracted new customers, which was not included in the previous formula. In the previous formula, we didn't have all the income which we will receive from referrals. People whom, for example, I like something, I refer the company to my friend, he buys or she buys from the company the same thing. So the company receives income from my referrals. So in this formula here, we put also this money which we can receive from the referred products or services. For example, dear students, some web pages, websites, they give opportunity for the company if the when the clients are registered. I'll give one example, for example, with the German tour operator, Neckermann. I think Neckermann, not TUI, Neckermann was. On their website, they have a button where you can, many sites you can register, in internet, this is just normal. But they have also opportunity that you write when you are registered to how many friends you have recommended such a holiday, and that is all in the databases. So the company can see how much money comes from referrals which you have made as a consumer. And in this equation, this is put here, the second S. The third one is minus, company expenses for the product production for this customer. So the expenses of the company to produce the products which the company is selling. Marketing expenses for attracting this customer. All the expenses which the company is doing to attract. These are for some incentives like promotions. This can be also some expenses for calls, regular calls to a customer to remind him something, to propose to him something. These are expenses. So in this formula are also these expenses, and company expenses for the discounts offered to this customer. If we give them coupons, talons, with discounts, with some bonuses, financial bonuses, this is also minus. So a very simple equation, I've made it deliberately so. Lifetime value is all amounts which we expect for the time period, everything from the referrals like income also, and then the expenses which we make for the product, which we make for marketing, and which we make like discounts for this customer. This approach is more difficult, but some companies are trying to implement this formula to calculate the lifetime value. We have to say something here. Because of the inflation and all the things which happen on market, we have to divide all this value, all this calculation by a discount rate to get the present value of the future revenues, because we expect these revenues after years to come, but this will be the present value of this future income is not the same. We have to discount somehow this amount. That's why there is a formula for the discount rate, and this is, E is the interest rate. This is the interest rate. This is the risk factor. This can be 2, 3, it depends. There are some calculations from the past. You take some data from other cases, and N is the number of years that company has to wait. We have to calculate the discount rate, and this is 1.35 in this case, because I take here 8% interest rate, risk factor 2, and then the calculation of the discount rate is about 1.35. So we have to divide the value which we receive from the previous calculation, we have to divide on the discount rate to receive the present value of the expected revenues after, let's say, 2, 3, or how many years here were? 2 years. N was 2, but it can be 5 years, it can be 8 years, 10 years. Now I want to say something also here about there are some software. I recently found some software in internet, customer lifetime value tools, and there was, in internet, there is a Starbucks cafe example. There is a calculator, online calculator. If you put some data inside, you can calculate the lifetime value. I said already why it is important to determine the lifetime value of the customer, but let's say again, because we can identify different valuations of customers, and the other important thing is through the lifetime value, we can influence the behavior of different customers and consequently changing their lifetime value. According why it is important to retain the right customer. When we calculate the lifetime value, we can see which customers will be most important for us, and we have to retain them, to keep them for us. According to some articles in Harvard Business School Review, the extended lifetime cycle, when we make longer relationship with the customers, this means their lifetime value is longer, is bigger, and their life cycle is longer. What does it mean? This means three things. Increases the profit from increased purchases, because we also can make cross-selling. During this longer period of relationship with these customers, we promote to them other products, not only the main product or brand which they buy. We also promote other things, additional things which they can buy also. So we make cross-selling. We may make cross-selling, and this brings more money, more revenue. Increases also profit from reduced operating costs. There are some articles with research who provide proofs that the operating costs for customers which we retain, which are old customers, are much lower, much smaller than the expenses which we make for a new customer. Simply said, to attract a new customer costs 5 to 6 times more than to retain an old customer. An old customer knows us. He knows our products, he knows our policies, our benefits, our qualities, and we don't have to speak a lot, we don't have to make much advertising to this customer. That's why the operating costs are here lower, and it is much more, it is worth to retain the recent customers than to attract new customers. And increases profit from referrals. I spoke about that when I spoke about the formula. Here, one figure about the marketing ladder of loyalty. In fact, what means relationship marketing? This means to make a long relationship with the customer, to retain him for a long time, because there are many benefits from that. We receive more income and we make less expenses. But which are the phases to get really high loyalty of customers? First is the prospect. We attract him. Traditional marketing puts stress, especially on the attracting new customers. We receive this customer as purchaser. He is buying something from us. He is buying then more, second, third, fourth, fifth time, he becomes a client. He is not only with single purchase, he becomes a regular client. Then he becomes a supporter. You know, consumers, customers who are long years with the company, they are really fans of this company. As I am a fan of Marriott hotels, if I can afford that, when I go outside, if I can afford that, if I have enough money, I would sleep only in Marriott hotel. Not because of the 4 stars or 5 stars, not because of that, because of the atmosphere and the experience. I'm a big fan of them. But every one of you is a fan of some brand and recommends this brand and buys this brand more and more. So this is the supporter. Advocate, he makes defense. These clients are not only big fans, they are really very big fans, but they also defend the company. They forgive easily the mistakes of the company. I'll give you here an example from my research which I have done. 2008, I've done a research in the biggest Black Sea resort, Sunny Beach, which is, dear students, only 37 kilometers from my city. So if you come as Erasmus students to Burgas Free University, there is the biggest Black Sea resort, 37 kilometers from Burgas. So I've done their research with about 300 tourists from UK, Germany, and Scandinavian countries. The sample was about 300 tourists. And the topic was tourist loyalty towards tourist destination Sunny Beach, towards the brand Sunny Beach. How do perceive the Western European tourists the brand Sunny Beach? Are they loyal? how they perceive this. Are they fans of this brand? Will they come second, third, fourth time? How many of them are for third, for fourth, for fifth time? What were the results? The main part of the tourists in Sunny Beach, about 36% of them are coming more than 5 times in the resort. So they are really supporters. They are really fans because they come for 6, 7, 8 times, more than 5 times, were in the resort. And all the questions in the questionnaire, which asked them how much money you spent in the resort, how much additional services did you buy, would you recommend the resort Sunny Beach to your friends? More than 2/3 of these tourists said, yes, I will recommend, yes, I will come again. They really spent more money in the resort. The loyal tourists who came many times spent much more money than the tourists who are for first time or for second time. So these are the supporters and advocates. They refer, they promise the mistakes. For example, all these loyal tourists in this research, they said that they are more tolerant to the mistakes in the services in the resort. So they really forgive the mistakes because they feel intimate with this resort. They love this resort. They have memories there. They have been many times. They have favorite restaurant, favorite hotel. They have friends from the staff. There were on some questions, open-ended questions, some tourists wrote, we have already a lot of Bulgarian friends. We want to come again because we have close families here from the resort. So these are the advocate. And the partner is really the last phase of the loyalty. These clients are really partners of the company because they support, they make contribution to the company, not only with expenses, but also, I said, with these referrals and with these positive comments, with these recommendations, and so on. Some examples of services sector. I think this is probably the same in your country. One of the examples is in the mobile services, mobile telecommunications, because they are very modern now. Everybody is with these mobile phones. So in Bulgaria are 3 mobile operators. It's a big competition, but still, this is something interesting. The prices are still not very low in Bulgaria, although it is a very competitive market, 3 mobile operators, but still the prices are not very low. Anyway, every of them, of these operators, puts a lot of efforts on retaining the customers, of making the customers fans, staying with them long years. I really stay with this mobile operator, Mobiltel. I stay 12 years with them. Okay, I have a second mobile from the competitor, but only for small amount of money, just for people, for friends which are on the other mobile operator. But my main colleagues and friends and family are in Mobiltel. So I'm really long year loyal customer of Mobiltel, but they give a lot of bonuses. I received up to now 3 times new mobile phones gratis. So I explain here, I have explained it here. For collected points, you receive gratis SMS. For longer abonnement, if you make subscription more than 2 years, you get the cheapest tariff plan. You receive gratis mobile phones. You receive gratis telephone, stationary telephone at home without paying. So a lot of benefits for the loyal customers. There is another example. From the services sector, and this is especially a restaurant sector. This is a Bulgarian chain, Happy Bar and Grill. It's not international fast food chain. It's a very prosperous Bulgarian restaurant chain, the best one. In fact, there are some other restaurant chains in Bulgaria, but are not successful, not so big. Happy Bar and Grill, they have almost in every big city a couple of restaurants. They have loyalty card, and this card provides a lot of benefits, really. For regular customers, preferred tables, special discounted menu, home delivery, gratis reserved parking place, etc. A lot of things. So many people really stay with the Happy Bar and Grill because of the benefits. This was the first fundamental 10 minutes more. not more, maximum 10 minutes. The second fundamental principle of relationship marketing is the concept of the 6 markets. What I mean? The traditional marketing, you know, all of you, you know the traditional marketing focuses on the consumer markets, only on the final, so to say, consumer market. Here, the relationship marketing puts stress on 6 important markets, and the company tries to be successful with all of them. Which are they? On first place is, of course, the customer market, because the money comes from the customer. Then come suppliers. These are partners, companies which supply our company. Employees, very important. That's why this subject, human resource management, is very important. You have to learn it good, really, because it's closely related with marketing, very closely related to relationship marketing, to treat the employees as customers. The employees are our internal market. We have to care about them like we care about the external clients. So this market is very important. Distributors, alliance partners, these are all other companies with which we make partnerships and we make joint offers, co-marketing, we promote together brands, all kinds of things. And influencers are all the external parties which influence the market and from which we depend. These are all the institutions, government, local institutions, banks, educational institutions, all kinds of institutions which influence the market where we are playing. So that's why relationship marketing stresses on 6 market model, not only on customer market. This is a broad concept, broader concept. Philip Kotler speaks about relationship marketing with other words. He says he doesn't use really relationship marketing. He says more holistic marketing. But more authors, I like more the term relationship marketing. I don't agree with him. Holistic is too holistic and too unclear. Relationship marketing shows that we speak about relations. I remember something now when I spoke about the supporter in the ladder of loyalty, supporter and advocate. You know the motorcycles, especially the boys, you know, Harley Davidson. You know them. They have the biggest fan club, and they have the strongest fans really in the world. A lot of research shows that the fans in the fan club of Harley Davidson and the fan club of Rolling Stones, the rock band Rolling Stones, these are really the strongest fans in the world. They can die for the brand of which they are fans. And the third key principle of relationship marketing is that it must be cross-functional. Look what David Packard, this is the co-founder of Hewlett-Packard, what important thing he said. Marketing is too important to be left to the marketing department only. Look how wise, how clever he says. Marketing becomes more and more important. And that's why it doesn't have to be left only to the marketing people. Everybody in the company should understand a little from marketing, and all departments should be in close relationship and connection with the marketing department. Because there are some new positions, dear students, which are combination of marketing and sales. For example, account managers. All account managers, all these positions, they combine marketing functions, but they combine also sales functions. They have sales targets. They have targets like for the sales department, but they are in close relationship with the customers. They are every day in close relationship with the most important customers to promote to them other products, to make cross-selling, to offer a new plan, a new promotion, new incentive. So the brand managers, they are really, and the account managers, they are really a combination of marketing and sales. That's why marketing is not only for the marketing department. All employees, I wrote here, all employees must be involved and have to be devoted to the activities for establishing a long-term relationship with the consumer. I want to show you, it's much longer, but I want to show you here some comparison between the transaction marketing and relationship marketing. There are some differences, and here is more visible in the table. Transactional marketing, so versus, both things, transactional marketing versus relationship marketing. Transactional marketing, focus on volume. Relationship marketing, focus on profitable retention. To retain the customer and to get from him more profits and more revenue. Emphasizes product features. Transactional marketing is focused on the product feature to improve the product, but doesn't look all the way to the customer. Relationship marketing emphasizes customer value. So, and emphasizes the relationship. Short time scale, now the transaction to sell this product, now we make sales promotions, we have to sell these things. Long-term time scale. We try to make a long relationship. Little emphasis on customer service, high customer service emphasis. This is related also to the experience, what I spoke about before. Experience marketing. We try to provide to the customer experience that he remembers and to come back. This is very important. You know, from your life as customers, you all know that if you get better experience in some shop, in some restaurant, in some hotel, in some coiffure shop, or everywhere, you are keen to go again because we remember. And if you don't have good experience, maybe you will not go. Moderate customer contact, high customer contact, and primary concern with product quality. Relationship marketing is mainly concerned with relationship quality, which doesn't mean, please don't understand me wrong. We put again, relationship marketing puts again stress on product quality, but also a very big stress on relationship quality. Not only because maybe you have heard about the article of Theodore Levitt, Marketing Myopia, which is from the late 60s in Harvard Business School. He speaks about marketing myopia is really this focusing on the product only. But this is the old marketing. Even 30 years ago, Theodore Levitt speaks that we don't have to be, the company doesn't have to be too much focused only on the product. Much have broader view, the company has to have broader view and to research all the time the needs and the expectations of the clients in order to satisfy these needs. So the old model of transactional marketing is inadequate to cope with today's business. And that's why relationship marketing is important. Here I have something about strategies for retention and development of customers. I will say only 2-3 words and that's. Positive retention strategies, we say. This means satisfying and exceeding customer expectations. This is the first important strategy here. So, different tools here, you know these tools for collecting data. I just put them, how we collect data, market research, customer reports, database, because we have to monitor the expectations and needs of the customers every day. Direct contact with the customers here, we include also this social media. We have to include also this social media marketing. I mean, the relationship between the company with her Facebook page and the consumers, because the consumers share experience, sometimes even pictures, give their comments in not only in Facebook, but also in Twitter, in Pinterest, which is for the hotel and restaurant industry, all kinds of social media which you know. Exceeding customer expectations is very important, which means delighting the customer. What does it mean, simply said? We investigate the expectations of the customer and give something more than he expects. This is the strategy. we have to know exactly what is he expecting, like a standard. Then we give a little more, even a little more, but this gives the feeling that we give benefits. So this is the strategy, exceeding customer expectations. Second strategy, positive retention strategy, is discovering ways to add value. Here are all the loyalty cards, which you know, also from Spain, from your country. All the big companies which have databases with clients and can do relationship marketing, they have loyalty cards and they offer different benefits through the loyalty card. As I spoke about our mobile operator, we collect points and we receive different benefits. So here I would like to stress on something. Successful schemes for loyalty provide 5 times of value. First type is cash value. What does it mean? What is the size of the bonus in cash compared to the amount you spent for getting it? Simply said, does we have to buy too much things to get a little bonus? Is it worth? It's not worth. And here I can, for example, I can give an example from Bulgaria, from international company. The Shell. You know the chain for petrol, Shell. It's also in Spain, yeah? I don't know how it is in Spain, but the loyalty system and the loyalty cards of Shell in Bulgaria is not good. I'll tell you really, one of my previous students is one of the bosses of Shell in Sofia. He graduated 10 years ago, so he's one of the managers in Sofia. I told him, look, your Shell loyalty card system is not good. Why? And I explained it to him, but it's not only my opinion. I have to buy a lot of liters of petrol and to give 100 euro, 200 level, which is 100 euro, to get one chocolate, like bonus. One chocolate, but I have to buy for 100 euro petrol, which is this cash value. This thing here is not good with Shell. And also other things. Value of the choice, second type of value. What does it mean? How big is the variety of offered bonuses? Shell offer in Bulgaria as gifts, as bonuses, mainly things for children. Okay, but if a young couple is buying a lot of petrol because they are traveling a lot, but they don't have children, for example, is this value of choice good for them? If they don't have children, they don't need to get these gifts, chocolates, toys, and some other. So they have to take them to give to other people, to nephews, cousins. So this value of the choice is also not very good in Shell. I just give these examples. Maybe in your country, for other companies is that. Third type of value, desired value. To what extent the client wants the bonus? This is similar like the previous one. If I don't want the bonuses which the company is offering, why to put so much money to buy from them? Then I receive bonuses which I'm not interested in, for example. The hotels, the resort hotels, for example, they do it good here, desired value. Sometimes they give gratis excursions, small excursions for regular clients. A guest who is coming many times, many summers in the hotel, in the same hotel, they offer to them gratis excursions, trips, one-day trips. If you have been 7-8 times in the hotel, this is a good choice of bonus. So it's gratis excursion. You go to another town, to another resort, but sometimes really the bonuses are not very attractive. Desired value, how accessible are the bonuses, for example? Let's say the places where you can buy from this company are not so many in the city. Can you easily collect points for the loyalty card? Not. If you are living in one part of the city and they have, for example, they don't have internet shop, they have only physical shops and the shop is on the other part of the big Sofia, of the capital city, how can I collect points? So relative value, how accessible. Value of convenience, they are similar, some of these types of value, but I think you understood what I mean. we collect points for loyalty, but sometimes the choice is not so big of the bonuses. The bonuses are not very accessible. You have to look for places where to buy the products to get points, or the value is too high for this bonus. Here I give some examples. There is a hotel chain in Bulgaria, Sharlopov. They do very good, very good hotel chain. S-Club card, many bonuses. Here I just point here the bonuses, discount of the prices on the reception, discount in the restaurants and bars, 10% discount in spa center, priority for the reservation, choice of favorable room, many things. So I think I will not show everything what I have because it will become too long, but generally I would like that you understand relationship marketing is not a universal panacea. It cannot solve all type of marketing problems of the company, but is a newer, relatively newer philosophy which puts on retention the customer, building a long-term relationship with the customer, not stressing on the single transaction, doing the marketing activities so that you extend the life cycle of the customer in order to get much more benefits and much more income and revenue from the customer. And so relationship marketing helps the companies to allocate the marketing budget. Traditional marketing, the marketing budgets are mainly for the attracting the new customers. The big part of the marketing budget goes in order to attract new customers. In relationship marketing, there is a balance. The marketing budget is allocated so that part of the money, and not so small part even, goes for expenses to retain the valuable customers and make a long-term relationship not only with customers but also with partners, suppliers, you saw with other parties on the market which are influencing our activities. Thank you very much for your attention. And welcome to Bulgaria. Welcome to my country. I think you will like it because it's we are very similar to Mediterranean people, in fact. Yeah. Because the climate is very, very, very close to your climate. When I arrived in Barcelona, it was 2 degrees lower in Burgas, in my city, only 2 degrees. Now I speak on the telephone with my family, so it's almost the same right here. Very similar. Only your summer temperatures in July and August are by 5 degrees, probably 4 or 5 degrees higher, but generally very, very similar climate and good opportunities for summer resorts, but also summer holidays, but also for skiing. Good prices, there are good prices for skiing in February and March for young people, a lot of opportunities. So welcome.
Thank you very much for your presentation and also for your marketing personal offers. Well, tenemos que dar las gracias a la doctora Alina Anastasova porque bueno, ha hecho 3 cosas distintas. En primer lugar, nos ha mostrado su país, un país.
If they have questions, because I was afraid that too long. If they have some questions, please don't hesitate to ask me.
Si tenéis preguntas, las formuláis. O sea, nos ha explicado el país, por lo tanto, ha creado imagen de marca país, ha intentado vender su país. Está muy bien, es lo que tenemos que hacer para tener éxito en el exterior. Después nos ha hecho una magnífica clase de marketing. Y finalmente, pues, ha dicho que vayáis allá, que hay cosas muy interesantes y ha vuelto a intentar dar una idea muy positiva de sus ofertas. Creo que ha sido una presentación muy dinámica y estará encantada de contestar cualquier pregunta que podáis tener al respecto. Thank you very much for your offer and thank you for the presentation.